POV. You're married to a real-life mood board. Watching him switch between bold Calvin Klein and chic Celine like he's V himself. I'm not saying he's a professional, but the camera doesn't lie. I think I win the husband lottery because one minute he's giving Calvin Klein energy, and the next he's channeling his inner TAEHYUNG for Celine. Honestly, I'm just living in his photo shoot at this point. Is it just me? Or did it just get hot in here? Seeing my husband go from the raw, edgy vibe of CK to that effortless TAEHYUNG Celine elegance is a transformation I wasn't prepared for. Which look are we obsessed with? Watch the continuation of this video and don't miss it. This is still our shared opinion and analysis, so feel free to leave your positive comments here. The best comment will be pinned as a way to honor their love. Thank you to everyone who continues to support this channel. May God reward all of your kindness. Purple Heart. This video reflects my personal opinion and interpretation. It is made for entertainment purposes only and does not represent confirmed facts. Before we start, make sure you're ready to love this moment. Welcome to V Effect. When Jungkook stepped into his Calvin Klein era, the internet didn't just react. It exploded. Timelines froze. Millions of ARMY couldn't stop replaying the visuals, the confidence, the power. But just when the world thought nothing could top that moment, V walked into the Celine spotlight, and suddenly the energy shifted. Two global icons, two luxury brands, two completely different auras dominating the world stage at the same time. This isn't just about fashion. It's about presence, influence, impact. As the real question is, whose moment truly shocked millions of ARMY? And why did this unexpected showdown take over the entire internet? Stay with me. The shift didn't happen quietly. After Jungkook's Calvin Klein campaign dropped, the numbers moved like a storm. Searches spiked. Clips flooded every platform. Fashion critics who had never said his name before suddenly called him the global standard. The camera didn't just capture him. It obeyed him. Every frame felt deliberate, controlled, dangerous. He wasn't just modeling. He was commanding for a moment. It felt absolute, like the industry had chosen its new center of gravity. And then Tum appeared. No warning, no competition announcement, just a different kind of silence before impact. When his Celine footage surfaced, the mood online shifted from loud celebration to something heavier, slower, almost cinematic. He didn't need explosive edits or bold movements. He stood there and the world leaned in. This wasn't about intensity. This was about aura. Suddenly the narrative fractured. Some said Jungkook represented power. Raw, modern, unstoppable, the embodiment of a generation rewriting masculinity in real time. Others argued Taehyung carried legacy, a timeless elegance that didn't chase attention but absorbed it. It wasn't a fan war. It was a philosophical divide. Confidence versus mystique, impact versus presence, heat versus ice. And the most unsettling part, both arguments made sense. Clips were dissected frame by frame. Body language analysts broke down posture. Fashion insiders debated which brand strategy was smarter. Was Calvin Klein amplifying Jungkook's bold evolution, or was Jungkook redefining Calvin Klein? Was Celine elevating Taehyung's classic aura, or was Taehyung reshaping Celine's identity with a single look? The line between brand and artist blurred until it disappeared. But beneath the praise, tension brewed. Because this wasn't just about campaigns. It was about trajectory. Jungkook's image felt explosive, like a declaration that he had stepped fully into his own era. Unapologetic and fearless. Taehyung's presence felt calculated, like a chess move placed 5 steps ahead. Quiet but devastating, two strategies, two energies, both unstoppable, and ARMY felt it. Some fans admitted they were overwhelmed, not by rivalry, but by the realization that both members were expanding in completely different directions at the same time. There was pride, yes, but also disbelief. How could two artists from the same group dominate global fashion conversations in such opposite ways, and still feel equally powerful? Then came the deeper question no one wanted to say out loud. If this is just the beginning of their individual eras, what happens next? Because these campaigns didn't feel like side projects. They felt like statements, like signals, like the first move in something much bigger. Jungkook's Calvin Klein era radiated bold independence, stripped back, fearless, almost confrontational in its confidence. T's Celine moment radiated controlled magnetism, distant, refined, impossible to fully read. Fire and shadow. And when fire meets shadow, the world doesn't stay neutral. Engagement numbers kept climbing. Media headlines grew sharper. Fashion insiders started using words like iconic and defining. The conversation expanded beyond fandom spaces. This wasn't just ARMY reacting anymore. It was the industry watching carefully, because when two global artists command this much attention separately, it changes expectations permanently. But here's the twist no one is ready for. What if this was never a competition? What if the real shock isn't Jungkook versus Taehyung, but the realization that together they've just proven something far more dangerous? That their individual power is now strong enough to dominate entire industries on their own. If that's true, then this wasn't just a fashion moment, it was a warning. And the next move might be even bigger than anyone expects. The aftermath didn't cool down. It evolved. What started as two separate fashion moments began turning into something far more strategic. The conversation shifted from who did it better to something deeper. What are they preparing for? Because when Jungkook stepped into his Calvin Klein era, it felt like a bold declaration of individuality. Stripped visuals, direct eye contact, a presence that didn't ask for approval. It signaled growth, not just physically but artistically. It told the world he was comfortable standing alone. Meanwhile, when V embodied Celine, it didn't feel like a reinvention. It felt like confirmation, as if the fashion world had simply caught up to what fans already knew, that his aura had always belonged in that space. Effortless, controlled, almost untouchable. And that contrast created something dangerous. Not rivalry, evolution. For years, people questioned whether members of global groups could truly carve out individual legacies without being overshadowed by the collective image. These campaigns answered that question without saying a word. They didn't compete. They expanded the map. Industry analysts began noticing patterns. The brand positioning wasn't random. Calvin Klein thrives on bold minimalism, confidence that feels intimate yet powerful. Celine thrives on quiet luxury, restraint that feels rare and exclusive. Each artist didn't just fit their brand, they amplified it, and amplification changes leverage. The numbers weren't just high, they were disruptive. Search trends crossed continents. Editorial mentions spiked. Engagement didn't fade after a few days. It stabilized at an unusually high level. That's not hype. That's impact. But here's where the tension deepens. When two members command global luxury houses simultaneously, the industry doesn't just celebrate. It recalculates. Fashion has always been about symbolism. Who represents what era? Who defines which mood? Jungkook's campaign symbolized fearless modern masculinity. Bold, direct, emotionally open yet strong. Taehyung's campaign symbolized timeless sophistication, artistic, controlled, quietly magnetic point. Two archetypes, both relevant, both powerful. And when two archetypes from the same group dominate different corners of luxury fashion at the same time, it sends the message. This isn't accidental momentum, it's positioning. Fans began noticing subtle shifts. The language in interviews, the creative direction choices, the way each artist carried himself in public appearances afterward. There was confidence, but not the loud kind, the kind that suggests long-term vision. And that's when speculation turned into anticipation. Because if fashion is only chapter 1, what does chapter 2 look like? Solo music releases, global campaigns beyond fashion, creative control over future projects, the possibilities multiply. What makes this moment even more intense is the absence of direct comparison from the artists themselves. No statements, no competitive energy, just quiet focus. That silence forces the world to interpret the moves on its own. And silence in this case is powerful, that it keeps the tension alive. Keeps people watching. There's also something emotionally layered beneath all of this. For longtime fans, these campaigns represent growth they've witnessed from the beginning. Seeing Jungkook project unshakable independence feels like watching someone fully step into adulthood on a global stage. Seeing Taehyung command luxury fashion without effort feels like seeing potential fulfilled. Pride mixes with disbelief because the scale is different now. This isn't regional fame. This isn't temporary virality. This is global cultural influence, and influence reshapes industries quietly over time. Luxury brands don't gamble lightly. They choose ambassadors who reflect future direction. So the unspoken question becomes unavoidable. If these houses are aligning their future imagery with Jungkook and T, What does that say about where global culture is heading? Maybe the real shock wasn't the visuals. Maybe it was the realization that both artists have crossed a threshold from idols representing brands to figures shaping brand identity itself. That shift is irreversible. And once the industry recognizes irreversible power, the opportunities become bigger, riskier, more defining, which leads to the final tension lingering in the air. If this was only the fashion chapter, if this was only the opening signal, then the next move won't just break the internet. Could redefine the scale entirely. And when that happens, the world won't be asking who dominated Calvin Klein or Celine. They'll be asking something far bigger. Who's ready for what comes next? The question isn't who won. The question is what changed. Because after the Calvin Klein and Celine moments settled into global headlines, something subtle but undeniable happened. Perception shifted. Not just among fans, not just within fashion, but across the broader entertainment landscape. When Jungkook stood at the center of Calvin Klein's stripped-back aesthetic, it reframed him. No longer just the youngest member with explosive stage energy, but a figure of controlled confidence. The campaign didn't shout, it asserted. And that assertion echoed far beyond fashion circles. At the same time, V moving through Celine's refined world didn't feel like a collaboration. It felt like alignment. The minimal gestures, the composed expressions, the quiet authority in his posture. Projected longevity, not a trend, a presence. And longevity is what industries invest in. And that's when speculation intensified. Not about rivalry, but about trajectory. Because historically, when global artists reach this level of brand alignment, it often signals the beginning of something much larger. Luxury partnerships are rarely isolated moves. They are pieces of a wider strategy, building narrative, expanding influence, preparing audiences for the next transformation, and both of them seem to be in transformation mode. The difference lies in how they communicated. Jungkook's transformation feels kinetic, visible growth, bold steps forward, an openness that invites the world to witness evolution in real time. There's power in that transparency. It creates immediacy, urgency. A team's transformation feels internal, layered, artistic, deliberate. It doesn't rush to explain itself. It unfolds slowly like a film revealing meaning scene by scene. There's power in that restraint. It creates intrigue, two different rhythms, and the world is trying to keep up with both. What makes this chapter even more intense is timing. Global audiences are more connected than ever. Trends explode within minutes. Cultural shifts happen overnight. In that environment, maintaining relevance requires more than popularity. It requires narrative control. And right now, both of them are controlling their narratives in very different, very strategic ways. There's also a psychological layer that few are discussing. For years, conversations around group artists often revolve around unity, shared identity, collective success. But when individual moments become this impactful, it challenges outdated assumptions. It proves that individual strength doesn't weaken collective legacy, that it strengthens it. That realization changes how industries negotiate. It changes how global media frames stories. It changes how audiences anticipate future releases, because anticipation is the currency of longevity. And right now, anticipation is at a peak. Every public appearance is analyzed. Every subtle interaction is magnified, not for drama, but for clues. Fans and analysts alike are searching for patterns. What's the next aesthetic shift? The next creative collaboration, the next unexpected partnership? Silence continues to be their most powerful tool. There are no dramatic announcements, no overt declarations of new era, just calculated visibility, strategic presence, moments that feel spontaneous but land with precision.